Hey, we got a good show lined up for you today.
20 years into the internet for the auto industry.
To me, that's the biggest change of what's going on.
So welcome, everybody. We are live. Ryan Girardi in Chicago. Wave to the crowd.
Up.
Matt Koenig, Chris Speer, Rockstar Automotive Conference and BD Spanish websites joining us in the house. And I am Big Tom from Dealer Teamwork. We've had a major week in the auto industry when it comes to news. We've had a significant couple of significant regional conferences go on, and then we got a great discussion with these two bearded fellows in Michigan. So Battle Plant was a fantastic event. Matt was the closing keynote, did a spectacular job. It was his 23rd conference, and it's Teach at the Beach, whatever number that is, down here, Clearwater Beach, a few miles from my house. And the weather was horrible, just like it is today. It was warm and sunny, and the beach was nice and sandy. A couple of people snuck up. The cocktail parties out on the back patio by the pool. It was.
I see Tom moving north in his near future.
Dude, and I'm going to be punished like a mama bear moving to Minneapolis, probably in the not too distant future, but I'm enjoying it.
I love that you chose a mama bear instead of a papa bear. I don't even know how or why that happens that way, the punishment.
It was an alternative to a curse word that I'm trying to control.
I respect that about you.
8 years in the Marine Corps and 20 years in the car business, and once in a while an F-bomb drops every 10 minutes. So I'm trying to avoid that. But
hey, no, Tom, real quick, just to shout everyone that's here on Facebook Live, we see you. I'm looking at your comments. Thanks for being here. Mike Phillips is up there, and by the way, Mike says you need some big headphones. And some inspired makeup.
Yes, I saw that. I do need some big headphones. I feel left out.
What were you doing that you looked so sweaty before we went live?
I don't feel like that's appropriate to talk about on.
That's between them.
A better question.
Not them.
Mike Phillips asked, Big Tom, did you just say that you're lit?
I am lit. I'm always lit, though. I went 49 years before I touched an illegal substance because I always had the attitude if I couldn't get high on life, I was doing something wrong. So, and if anybody knows me, I probably don't need any enhancements. I have a hard enough time not saying stupid stuff when I'm sober. Yes.
You're having a hard time right now. We should move on to the next subject.
To tag off of what Tom said on Internet Battle Plan, it was really great. There were a couple standouts too there. Stapleton did a really good job helping dealers understand a little more of the way that paid search works, because a lot of people think you just throw money at ads and then magically people show up. And Sean did a really great job of breaking that down in a way that dealers could understand. So that was another really great highlight there from being down there. But Tom hit it on the head too. You can't beat the good weather down there. So that was pretty.
Now you were at the one in Chicago, right, Ryan? It wasn't quite as warm.
No, we went from 1.5 feet of snow to 65 degrees. And within a week up here, but
thank God no flooding. Yeah, and you were tied to the auto show, which I really wanted to go for just that.
Yeah, I usually go during media days, the 2 days leading up to when the show is live, and go as press. And I'm able to hit most of the booths, but this time I wasn't able to because we pretty much got snowed in on one of those days, so I wasn't even able to get to the city. But the workshop was cool. They were right there in the McCormick Place, right coupled with the auto show, so it was a bit more buzz there. And I didn't hit the sessions, but I definitely was in the little expo hall of the workshop. And you know what? Sean Bradley led a panel to close that event off, and it was actually one of the better panels that I've seen in a long time. There was I should know who was up there, and I'm going to blank on it, but.
Well, Sean definitely brings some charisma wherever he goes.
No, he led a good panel. The audience was involved, and I think the big takeaway there from that panel was something that's passionate for me, which is how quickly this industry is changing right before our eyes. And it's something we talk about a lot, and I love to talk about it. And that's what the dealers on the panel were saying. Things are changing so fast that they they struggle to keep up, but they know that they have to. And everyone's got to have their antennas on and be tuned in and listening and absorbing and trying different things. And it's a really challenging time for dealers, for consumers, because they have high expectations, and then obviously for all the vendors and the providers and the partners in this space too. It's moving fast.
I just helped a friend buy a car, and it's amazing how even at the highest integrity dealer group in town, what hasn't changed.
Well, I was going to say, when you're talking about the industry changing so fast, the reality is what's changing is that a lot of us vendors are coming out with shiny new objects, but there's not. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Serving people isn't rocket science. There's a million things that haven't changed. Google changes their algorithm a bazillion times a year. That's not new. They've been doing that forever. Facebook brought out a couple nifty new tools, but I think it's funny. I get a kick out of when I hear dealers talking about like how it's so hard to keep up, but I'm like, well, it's hard to keep up because you're not doing shit.
These are dealers. A lot of those are dealers that aren't even
up.
answering their phone, and I know because I call them and roll the voicemail. And the thing is, 20 years into the internet for the auto industry, 20 years ago, 21 years ago when dealers started rolling out websites, 96, 97. And I haven't seen the internet taken up and sell a car yet. The internet is an amazingly dramatic communication tool and an information storehouse for people to find information and connect. But you focused on it huge, Matt, and Ali, when he spoke at Rockstar, focused on the fact that those aren't leads, those aren't ups, those are people messaging you, walking in the door, driving by, applying for credit. And man, if you're not treating them like people all the way through the process, digitally and personally, then nothing is going to change.
I agree with you completely, Tom. And that's, I know that's going to be part of some of the stuff we dig in today, right? Ryan, with cars.com.
I think we're digging now.
Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you hit it on the head. We're talking about all the different things in the industry and the different lead sources and all the things that people talk about. And people talk about lead scoring. And Chris had brought it up earlier about I get frustrated when people call a human being a lead. It drives me batshit crazy. It has for a while. And I get angry about that because I heard someone say at Battle Plan, they asked the audience, let me ask you this. Would you rather have a lead from TrueCar or Cars.com or your website? Which is a better lead? And everybody's like, your website, right? And everybody's like, yes. And then
what would you call them?
I want to hear what he's saying.
Buyers
before you enter, I would call them people. That's what I would call them. All they're doing is using a different communication method, a vehicle, right? So in my session, when I came up there, the best example I could use is I walked up to one guy and I said, what's your name? And his name was Chris. And then the gal behind him was Susan, we'll say. And I'm like, okay, this is Chris. This is Susan. Who's a better person? Who's more qualified to buy? Whose intentions to buy are stronger? And nobody can answer. And I'm like, well, okay, Chris came through cars.com and she came through your website. See, it doesn't matter. If I'm shopping for a car, Chris Speer and I were talking about this today. We talk about it often. When I look for a car, like my ELR has been in Cole 8 million times.
You still have it?
Till next week, I'm done. I do not go to their website ever. When I need service, I just send an email to the advisor or I call, but I don't go to their website. Every single time I start to shop for a car, do you know where I go? Cars.com. And you know why I go to cars.com? I know there's a crap load of cars, and I know they sort most to least expensive, so it's easy. That's it. And the funny thing is, if I'm saying I'm interested in a car, am I a bad lead because I came through cars.com? No, but I think that the reason dealers say an Auto Trader lead is bad or a cars.com lead is bad is because they've bought into that mentality that we have sold them as website creators that a lead's better through me. And so what happens is they don't follow up as well. But Spear, you were talking about it earlier though, and there's different leads that come in that are leads. It's not a person saying, I'm interested in your car. Like, what was it?
Like a GM hand raiser lead, obviously. That's something that they entered a contest and then they submit those leads to the dealership. well, they call them leads. They shouldn't call them leads because it's just somebody who entered a contest to win a car or to win a T-shirt at a basketball game or whatever. To me, those are not real leads. The consumer's not expecting a call from you. They're like, why are you calling me? And as a dealership, these leads, when I worked in the dealership, the leads got dumped on me. Like, here, handle these GM third-party leads. And I said, what are they? How should I handle them? Well, they're just more leads. Handle them. So I started calling them, and the customer said, what do you mean I inquired about an Acadia? I didn't inquire about an Acadia. And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, I entered a contest while I was at the basketball game. And I'd be like, okay. So did we close some of those leads? Yes, but it was it's not that, I feel like, is not a good quality lead.
So, that speaks to something that came up at one of the sessions at the Digital Dealer Workshop, which is that dealers don't necessarily need more quote unquote leads. What they need are more quality contacts and more quality opportunities. And I think that speaks to part of what we wanted to get into, which is the role that third-party automotive providers like Car Gurus and Cars.com, their role is changing. They're breaking out of what we refer to as a lead source and a lead provider, which is a kind of becoming an outdated practice, and it's changing. And Matt, I think that was a big part of your message, which is these are advertising partners, and that's how they need to be. That's how dealers need to look at these companies.
That's all they've ever been. See, the problem, and I'll put the onus on Cars.com and AutoTrader for this. The problem is they've always only been an ad source. If you think about a Cars.com, a Car Gurus, an AutoTrader, an Edmunds,
they were a digital extension of classified ads. I mean, by definition.
Yeah. When they first came out, literally the way that we communicated to dealers was, this is the newspaper online. Like, that's all it is. It's your newspaper classifieds online, but now people can look at your pictures and stuff, which you couldn't do in a $25 liner ad in the paper. So the challenge is, though, and the fault of it is that when Cars.com and AutoTrader first came out, they were saying to dealers, we're going to get you leads. We're going to get you all these opportunities. Instead of just saying, we're going to put your car in front of 14 million people a month, and if they like what they see, maybe they'll contact you. And that's the message that should have been communicated all along. Because now everybody, you see it everywhere. They're going, well, Cars.com and AutoTrader, they're a lead provider, but they don't want to be held accountable to leads. So now they want to say, we're an ad source. They've always been an ad source. That's all they are. They're a place to put your cars. And if your cars are priced good, they look good, your message is good, maybe someone will talk to you. And therein lies the problem. We're looking at them like a pay-per-lead source. And most pay-per-lead, I shouldn't say most, but there are some pay-per-lead stuff that goes back to what Chris said, where they're running ads on Facebook to win an iPad. They ask you 12 questions. When are you in the market for a car? Oh, in 6 months. Boom, now your dealership's getting a lead coming through, and that person has no interest in a car right now. The thing we all have to remember is this, though. Joe Verdi said it in the 80s, and it actually still holds true today. Everybody's a buyer. There's only 2 questions. When are they going to buy, and who gets the commission, right? So if we start thinking of it that way, every time a human contacts us, whether it's by chat, by lead form, by email, by text, whatever, if we serve them well, stay top of mind awareness, then maybe we get a chance. And that's it. That's all advertising is, a chance. And if you look at Cars.com and you go, I don't want to pay $8,000 a month to take a chance, then don't pay $8,000 a month. But the same dealers that are bitching about that didn't complain about spending $15,000 a month for a full page ad in the newspaper.
Or the 6 hours it took to get that ad ready every week. Exactly.
So it's kind of silly. I mean, I think right now, dealers, they get sold a bill of goods a lot of times by web providers and stuff that, your website's all you need. People go to Google and they search for this. There's no proof behind it, but my tinfoil hat theory is most of the search terms that you see your website showing up for, it's like, look how we show up for the best deal on this and the best deal on that. Most of those searches are probably done by people that sell search that are typing those terms to see what sites come up so that they can then buy keywords and try and SEO the shit out of it. But I know when I ask my friends, hey, when you look for a car, where do you go? They don't go. I go to Google and type, who has the best deal on a used truck? None of them say that.
They have a brand in mind that they go to?
No, they go to a place.
That's
yeah,
a-
like, oh
a
yeah, yeah,
brand
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like Auto Trader. They go.
If
Well,
it's a cheap car, they go to Facebook, they go to Craigslist.
Yeah, but people go to Google. People go to
no, there's,
Google.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
they go to
millions of
Google,
searches on Google.
they go to Google, but I don't. But I think we're bullshitting dealers as website providers as to why they go to Google. I go to Google to look for common issues with car X or reviews on car X, or if it's a new car for rebates for things like that.
Well, here's the thing, Matt. You are not an impartial shopper any more than
True
I am,
story.
any more than Chris is. You and I go to Google different. When we shop for a car, usually I already know who has got a factory certificate I can use and avoid $900 dealer fees we have in Florida. But the reality is everybody does it a little different. And I think, especially if you think about it, Cars.com Auto Trader used to be advertising in the Super Bowl. They used to advertise all the time. The fact that I have the TV on in the background all the time when I'm doing non-sales related work, I'm cued on car ads and I'm cued on auto industry ads. And TrueCar and Carfax are really the only ones rolling a significant amount of ad buy. The other ones aren't showing up in Google anymore either. Cars.com redid their platform, so some of their cars show up. Car Gurus, their stuff shows up on a search for used cars more than anybody else. So they're for the fact that the data says opportunities from somebody who's been in your website, just like somebody who's actually been to the showroom, have a higher probability of becoming a sold unit, have a higher probability of becoming a long-term customer, and a higher probability of making you a couple extra bucks, speaks to why you would invest more or less there rather than putting tens of thousands of dollars into a third party to aggregate shoppers. And it's just like an auction. I mean, in a conference, I was saying auction. You have a lot of buyers, you have a lot of sellers. The person who can introduce those the most becomes the most profitable.
Yeah, I would agree to some extent. I mean, at the end of the day, though, you got to remember this, Tom. Car gurus may show up for used car searches, but the question is, are everyday people searching for certain terms, right? As a company that does stuff in the web, hell, we build websites. We would love to sell people on the fact that people prefer to go to my website than a third party. But the data is showing more now, and we were talking about this with Contact at Once. You're seeing a lot of consumers going to the third party sites again. They're shifting again. And here's the deal. Why are they doing that? Why even do the third parties exist? There's the real question we have to ask. And it's because of lack of trust in a dealer. Now, dealers have gotten so much better. So that's the sad part is 20 years ago, dealers were, there were a lot of shiesty folks or whatever. But at the end of the day.
Well, that's not what you said, though, to argue with you, because I'm good at it. You said you go to cars.com because you can see a whole bunch of cars and sort them by price.
True, but I said, why did those places exist in the first place?
But the same reason the newspaper did, though. The same reason the newspaper did before, and the classified ads did. It was an aggregate source. The cool thing about
if you ask customers too, though, Tom, a lot of it is that even though that's all dealer cars, the reality is if they felt like, hey, I could just go to a dealer website and I know it would be legit, there probably wouldn't be as much of a need for third parties. I know personally, though, when I go to a cars.com, because there's a lot of cars, then I'll go look at the dealer's website to see if it's advertised at the same price, right? So, and you're right, I'm not an impartial shopper, but at the end of the day, I think we've got to recognize that sites like TrueCar, Trader, cars.com, consumers still love going to those sites. And for us to pretend, pull your entire budget from pull that 10 grand from cars.com, put it all into Google SEM or Facebook ads. I think that's pretty stupid, personally. I think that's short-sighted. I think we'd love to believe that we're going to drive everybody to our site and then they're going to stay there. But the reality is you can spend your whole 10 grand wad driving people to your website.
Different things work different in different markets. You and I know a lot of dealers that have pulled all of their classified ad third-party stuff and not seen a drop in sales.
Yeah, but you know why, Tom? When you take it from here to here, you can't see what the true effect is. But here's the thing. If you want to see if the SEM is really making a growth difference versus filling in a gap, and this is what I say to everybody when I'm going to pull my budget from here and put it here. How about instead, keep your budget where it is here. For the next 90 days, invest in this. See if your sales go up. If they go up, then you know that truly brings you growth. And guess what? You're making money on both. Cool. But when you pull it from Cars, put it in pay-per-click, and your sales stay about the same, then Cars.com was working too. You were making money on them too.
No disagreement. And I used to work for a dealer group that contracted David Kane to aggregate the lead ROI. And I used to fill in, Chris, you probably did similar, fill in all of the sources of the leads, or at least the initial attribution. We can argue about attribution, another call, but fill that in and see where the differences were. And I saw TrueCar deals that were $6,000 losers, and I saw TrueCar deals that were as BMW store that were $7,000 winners. And I saw, but by and large, the website tended to do better. And my website as a car dealer doesn't show somebody an alternate option from another store, and hasn't made a living criticizing me as a business partner, which they've gotten better about. TrueCar and Cars.com really pissed off a lot of people for a while there. And Carfax advertising that dealers are crappy. You should go through us.
Oh, don't forget Car Gurus, who at first stole your inventory and then told people your car was overpriced.
So you know what, we this is a conversation we can continue for the next decade, and we'll follow the changes. But we do, Ryan. We had a huge business merger in the industry this week. You want to go into that a little bit?
Well, there's been so much conversation about it, and I don't want that to be the focus for us here. But I would like to reference Brian Pash, who I think I think he did a very eloquent job at putting some contrast on Cars.com's acquisition of Dealer Inspire. And he posted just the other day on LinkedIn, and there's some good comments on there. He put up two I think, examples that specifically for Cars.com, and how Cars.com and the industry can learn from a couple other recent acquisitions. And for one, he references Dealer Socket's acquisition of Dealer Fire a few years ago. And what he says is that the missteps of Dealer Socket and Dealer Fire have now made the way for Dealer Inspire to become the quote-unquote darling of the auto industry. And I think what he's speaking to is when Dealer Socket acquired Dealer Fire was on the rise. They were an up-and-coming website provider. And now they're not part of the conversation. They just kind of got blended in to Dealer Inspire's product mix. I don't know if the same thing happened when, say, Cox acquired Bin Solutions. They're two different things, but maybe he does kind of make that argument as well. And his suggestion, I think, is pretty on point, that Cars needs to let Dealer Inspire, let Joe Chur and his team continue to build the momentum that they are. And I know the folks at Cars.com, and I believe they're committed to doing that too. And Matt, you know the folks at Cars.com.
Yeah, Alex Vetter is a great guy, and it's good having him at the helm of that ship. The great thing about Alex is, I feel like, and I can't speak to every other vendor, but Alex knows all aspects of the industry. I've worked next to him at a trade show back in 2007, and Alex genuinely wants to see more opportunities come to the dealer's pipeline. So I feel like the decisions that they're making right now are pretty smart. It's pretty interesting though to see, because everybody knows Cox kind of had the whole ecosystem, right? And it's interesting to see Cars.com scooping up a lot of that as well. Websites, all of it, the ratings. I'm still not a fan or believer in Dealer Rater, but I like what Cars.com is doing. I think it'll benefit dealers, and I think they had to, with as much as they're charging dealers, they had to do something else to increase value, because you can't increase rates without a value increase.
Now, even though in the press release it says this is not an integration play, I do see a lot of interest and benefit there, where you can kind of have some more intelligence between your website, and your advertising partner.
Well, your economies of scale. There has to be an economy of scale argument, or it's just a bolt-on accessory. So I think there can and should be some integration value, as far as, like Matt called, an ecosystem of tools.
Well, I think calling a wrap. Guys, if you don't mind, I gotta draw attention. We launched the AutoConverse podcast recently. You can go to autoconverse.com or autoconversion.net. Look for the podcast link. You can go right there to podcast.autoconverse.com. Or if you're a podcaster, just look for it on your phone. Just go to, I use Overcast, but whatever your podcasting app, just search for AutoConverse. We got about 2 or 3 new episodes a week going up there. We've got interviews. I record these events and dub them down and re-release them as podcasts as well. So I'm really excited about that. And there's a lot of interest already out the gate around that podcast. So, and Tom, thanks for being here. And folks on Facebook that joined us, it was great to have you here. Thanks for your support and being here as well. We'll be back next week. Next week I have Mike, the car guy Carrera, coming on, and also Mike Phillips, if you're still watching. Mike Phillips is going to be on with us as well, so we're going to put together a good show. Matt, Chris, we'll see you guys probably in a month, 4 to 5 weeks from now.
Yeah,
Tom,
I think we'll see you at Natick.
Yep. Tom, I never know when you're going to be here, but always great having you.
We'll always see you, man. Hey, thanks everybody for being on here. Thanks everybody for watching live and the rewind.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Peace.